Hello everyone, my name is Todd Burns and I'm a member of the Brodhead chapter of Trout Unlimited here in the beautiful Pocono Mountains of eastern Pennsylvania. Today I want to talk a little bit about reading the water in our trout streams, or how I learned to find the fish, stop worrying, and learn to love the challenge of fishing these beautiful waterways. Two of the most important things you need to consider when you're looking to find our trout is current and structure. When fish feed, they want to move as little as possible. They're not lazy, this simply saves energy. If they burn more energy than they eat, they die, and they don't want that to happen. To save energy then, fish will hold in calmer water at the edge of the current. In this way, they stand still and the food comes to them. This area at the interface between the current and the holding water is called the current seam. You can learn to identify current seams in minutes. Fish will be next to these current seams, or maybe even in them. Fish these seams, you'll find fish. Now here we have a classic photo of a small stream coming down next to an overhanging sycamore tree. Every trout fisherman loves to see this. So let's find the current. There it is, that white water right next to the tree. That's the fastest water coming down through there. Right next to it, between that and the slower water, is the current seam. And then next to that, the slowest water, is the holding water. So we have current seam, and holding water, all in one place. And you can fish all those. Fish this right to left, working upstream. I'd hit the holding water, then that seam, then the current. And then maybe move up a little bit farther with your cast and fish that holding water, the seam, and then the current. The fish will be in the place that allows them to get the most food with the least amount of energy. Most of the time, they're going to be there at the green arrow in that current seam. Remember, current is the food conveyor. It brings food to the fish. Think of a cafeteria line in reverse. You stand still and the food moves past you. You take what you want, refuse what you don't want. Fish do the same. Also, when you have riffles, this oxygenates the water. Food plus oxygen equals fish. Now you throw in a little bit of holding water and shelter, and you've got it made. Look at the different seams in this photo. This is well oxygenated water, and the current brings food to the fish. I would fish this right to left, moving upstream, being sure to hit the current and the current seams at the edge of that holding water. So I'd fish here, and I'd fish this side, then I'd fish here. And then after I fish that, I'd look upstream, and I'd be casting here, and then off to the other side of that run. The current isn't everything. Fish also need structure. Fish need shelter and protection just like us. Predators can easily locate a trout or any fish out in the open. Therefore, for a fish to survive, the water needs some sort of structure around or within which fish can hide. If you fish near structure, you'll be near the fish. Here's another photo of a small stream in the Pocono area. We've got a cluster of trees right up against the bank with some water coming down next to it. These tree roots provide a great place for fish to hide. And by the way, those bubbles show where the current is. So here we have good structure, we have current seams, and some holding water. This is a great spot to fish. Let's not forget shade. Most fish don't like direct sunlight, and trout are no different. Shade cools the water, and trout like cool water. Shade keeps the fish from being sunburned. Now they don't really get sunburned, but they don't like to be out in that bright sun. Once that sun comes up, unless it's winter or the water's deep, fish in the shade. The sun warms the water in winter, and I found that trout are a bit more tolerant of it at that time. The light is also less intense due to the low angle of the sun, so it's not quite as important in the winter. Here's a photo of a well-canopied trout stream. Look how shaded that is. There's hardly any sun on the water at all, and that's almost midday. Here we have current coming down along the tree line, big overhanging tree there. We also have structure with the roots that are associated with that tree. So we have current, structure, and now we have shade to keep things cool during the hot summer months. Fish there, and I can assure you there are fish there. So now it's time for a little bit of a surprise quiz. Here we have a photo of a stream. It's got some material in it. What would you consider structure in this creek? Well, there we have a rock. There we have another rock. And up here we have a cross vein of a lot of other rocks. Okay, so we've got some structure there. Now that does a couple of things. One, it provides a place for the fish to hide, but it also provides some current seams, because as the water comes down and hits those rocks, it's going to start creating areas where the fish can have food come right to them. So in this case, our shelter and our cover also provide some current seams for the fish to feed. Now here's another section of that same creek. Very different structure in this section. Where do you think the trout would be? Where will you cast? Where will you cast first? Well, let's fish that area closest to us first. There's going to be a current seam coming around that rock. Then you move up further, again fishing upstream. Then fish the far side of the rock between that and the overhanging brush there, and then fish that brush line all the way up through. That's the cover, and that's where the current is. So again, structure, current, some shade, going to give you fish. Reading the water simply translates to identifying the currents, the structure, and the holding water. Whether the stream is small or large, the basic tenets hold true. Structure plus current plus holding water equals fish. I leave you with one last image to dream about until opening day or the next day you get out on the water. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great time when you go out, practice your skills, read the water, and catch some trout.